let's talk about Maul Shadowlord. I know I'm a bit late, but let's not get into that right now. Anyways, the show is great, from its visuals, action sequences, characterizations, pacing, voice acting, and aura farming. But the most important thing about the show is actually how it helps to justify the resurrection of Maul. Don't get me wrong, Maul is one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, but I do have to admit that his return wasn't really justified, other than him being a really cool character. Even though he's great in both Clone Wars and Rebels, and he did play an integral part in both those projects, they could have used pre-existing characters for the same purpose. Maul specifically wasn't really needed for the plot. I know some of you may very strongly disagree with this sentiment, but if you watch the video till the end, you may see my point. By the way, the animation that's being played right now is not AI generated. I modeled, textured, and rendered this in Blender. And I'd like to make it very clear, I won't use AI for any of my videos for any reason, whether it be for research or the use of images and or video clips. Okay, let's start with a bit of context first. Maul Shadowlord primarily takes place on the planet Janix roughly 1 year after Order 66 and Maul's escape after the events on Mandalore. Maul is going after criminal syndicate leaders who betrayed him, and he's trying to regain power by rebuilding his own crime syndicate after his loss on Mandalore. On Janix we also meet Devon Izara and Master Iko Diodaki, Jedi survivors trying to avoid the Empire and trying to figure out what their lives are going to be after the genocide and destruction of the Jedi Order. We also get introduced to Branda Lawson, a captain of the local law enforcement agency, and Two Boots, Lawson's droid partner, and Riley, Lawson's son. There are also a bunch of other cool characters, but they're not relevant for this video. Though Maul has had a lot of cool moments and fights in various different shows and movies, the reason for the character's existence after Phantom Menace isn't, in my opinion, reasonably justified. Because in both Clone Wars and Rebels, we see the potential for this character, but it was never truly fleshed out. Mainly because those shows weren't about him. That's why this series was needed, because it explores the character in a meaningful way and adds purpose to his revival. And the reason this series works so well is because the theme of hate and violence and how they repeat in a never-ending cycle is a central motif in the Star Wars universe. And these themes are explored well through Maul, but also through Devon. And I want to show you why a character like Devon is also important to Maul's story. Maul at a very young age was taken by Sidious away from his family and home. And shocker, Sidious tortured, abused, starved, and manipulated him, all in the name of training, so he could become a powerful Sith apprentice to be used in Sidious's grand plan to take out the Republic and the Jedi. And Maul became obedient and fell for the manipulation, growing a hatred towards the Jedi. And he seemingly dies on Naboo but returns towards the end of Clone Wars, with even more hate towards the Jedi and especially Obi-Wan. But even after all he'd gone through, he was still loyal to Sidious. But Sidious, being the chill guy he is, casually kills Savage, Maul's brother, right in front of him, and attempts to kill him too. So Maul now hates Sidious, by extension also the Empire. Now let's compare that to Devon's story. While plotting to destroy the Empire, Maul is looking for a young and powerful apprentice to train so he can mold them into a powerful weapon to be used in his grand plan to take out the Empire and take his revenge on Sidious. Being a young Jedi apprentice, in a time of injustice and despair, Devon can be easily manipulated to go against her Jedi doctrines, if he can give her the right kind of motivation. Maul offers her revenge for all the suffering and pain the Empire has caused her, which she eventually comes to accept. So to recap, a powerful user of the dark side manipulates a young person with a lot of potential to become their apprentice, offering them revenge disguised as justice. Though he hates everything Sidious has done to him, Maul will inevitably follow in his master's footsteps by manipulating, using fear, and teaching revenge to Devon and eventually Ezra. This is a very important theme for Star Wars as a whole, because children and the circumstances they are brought up in and how they are raised and what they're taught are often an overlooked element in this universe. Indoctrination, inheritance of trauma, slavery, war, and many others will result in a damaged childhood, and being a child is already a vulnerability. So when a child is manipulated or taught certain things, it will be very difficult for them to see things from a different perspective once they are older. This is exactly the case with Maul. Sidious has ruined many lives in his path to power. Anakin, Dooku, and Maul are some of the direct victims. Although Maul has gone through many physical and psychological changes, he's always stayed true to his way of life. He fights for a higher cause that is beyond himself, and he has a fierce sense of justice, which is often synonymous with revenge. He fights and pushes through no matter the circumstances he's put in, and all he needs to keep him pushing through is the fuel of hatred. because this is the only way of life he has ever known since childhood. So for the next season, I'm guessing he has to come to terms with what he has become. One of the coolest things about the ending of Return of the Jedi is that Luke doesn't win the fight through violence. The cycle of hate and revenge ends with Anakin, as he is the one to kill Sidious, because he's the chosen one that brings balance to the Force. Maul being introduced as a simple but cool villain character in Phantom Menace was good, but taking the time to flesh out his story through this show and highlighting another layer of evil to Sidious is really cool, and this addition to Maul's story was much needed. So every character I've made a video on has a red and black design, which I realized while making this video. I swear it's a coincidence.